This is a continued discussion from the previous episode of Nose to Tail, a podcast where we explore the world of aviation lifecycle solutions, insights, and more. Presented by Jet Midwest.
It's a brilliant plan. I know we've discussed it a little bit before, and I'm a huge advocate of it. I have been for a long time. You know, I think the integrity of the systems that Jet Midwest has put together already support probably all of those things.
Yes.
And but because the industry standard really hasn't been set in stone, it's, you know, some operators maybe a little smaller, more nimble from a regulatory standpoint. They don't need all of that. But a lot of airlines who are looking for higher quality and more reliability say, hey, these are things that are going to improve reliability and quality in our world. So you guys just sort of created that solution finally digitally.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting time. So so that gets us up kind of to where we are now. What do you think this next couple of years looks like as you guys continue to transition and you know, where do you see the growth? Now we've got the CAC AFRA. At some level, there's something there that's kind of in a prototype phase.
Yeah.
And then is there another wave over here? Because I mean, I could consider using it for all of my dismantles, just as a portal that I could just say, oh well, I would guess again you could build it for me, so I could just click a button and off goes my approved paperwork.
That's exactly right. I mean, we looked at what kind of CAC and AFRA made their own MOU about, and we said, well, what does that look like generally for everybody? So we are coming out very shortly with something that is right along those lines. It can be applicable to all teardowns, all parts, and what we're looking at is, like, do we take the full standard that the CAC, for example, has been presenting as a way to do it, or do we do a little bit differently? I think that's there's always a balance between asking for too many things where you create too much friction in the market versus, like, it's a satisfactory package. So I do see us having this all-purpose registry of removed parts, and that will be something that companies like Jet Midwest and others would be most welcome to participate and support.
Yeah, and I think from a practical standpoint, best practices, there are some industry standards that are best practices that 95% of us are using on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's probably, you're correct, probably is going to have to be balanced with maybe an over-demand that might suppress what might be the right product, because the Chinese maybe want to have, I don't know, everybody has to sign left-handed in red ink. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever standard they choose to put in.
Ink is a big problem, right? Like, everybody still wants ink on their certified true copy.
Right. And which, does that really make sense?
It's kind of replaced by a blockchain when you think about it. I mean, the fingerprint of a blockchain record is like that stamp. It's even more, I guess, enduring or less able to be kind of manipulated or faked. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely would see it heading that way. I mean, in terms of where we are, the way I look at it is, in civil commercial aviation, there's probably about 100 million serialized parts that would be worth putting that effort into tracking on a blockchain and tracking on block Aero. And so we're targeting all of those assets. As I said, we've got, we're like at 1% right now. But 1% is better than 0% in a way, right? And we've got a path to get to a few percent even in the next year. So
I've got 1%. The problem is as I understand it, it'll be a forward-looking process instead of the backwards. But we can continue to discuss how to get that, and maybe not all of my. I often say
how many pieces of inventory you guys got?
I have 500,000 serialized components, and then I have a lot more that aren't serialized.
Yes. You guys got us all the way to 0.5% right there of the entire globe.
Yeah, and there's probably some we wouldn't spend the energy on, where maybe we had a third-party dismantle or something, then that the paperwork wasn't as elite and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
So again, it doesn't mean there's not clients for that paperwork. It just means, like, hey, how do we have a system that allows us to show what we have? What's the quality of this? And if we have that one standard set up here, it'd be a great bar. I'd love to have all of my inventory living in there. So your goal is 100 million parts. You've got maybe 1.5% if you include the Jet Midwest project, which I think is likely to move forward very shortly.
Awesome.
How are you going to make that journey to capture the maximum amount of that marketplace here in the next couple of years?
Well, we have to have our credibility. Our credibility is based on relationships. It's based on a track record. It's based on, being there. I think being one of the first players in the industry to go out and educate and talk about it certainly was part of that. Working with the authorities and the standard setters, people like ASA, AFRA, and the leading airlines, MROs, and OEMs. That's how we make it happen. I think what people can, people want something that is going to be independent. Block Aero is an independent company. We're not owned by an OEM. We're not owned by one particular entity. So I think that's also really important to the success of bringing blockchain into our industry. The other thing that I think everybody can agree on, besides safety, though, is that we want to focus on how do we standardize the data that gets ingested by the blockchains. And, do we use AI tools to help create that? Or do we train the AI after we get it on the blockchain? And maybe that's another way that we want to see blockchain bring value to the industry. But one of the initiatives I'm excited about recently that I think has been getting some traction is the ATA standard for the parts certificate form. They call it the E form, the E8130, depending on which market you're talking about. This was something we, from the beginning, put into Block Aero as a standard. So if you issue certs on Block Aero, you're getting the ATA standard, but additionally, you're getting blockchain encryption as well. And this is something that I think it's been many years in the makings before Block Aero even existed that this standard came out. They updated over the years, but everybody knows that's the most common and in a way almost one of the most important documents when it comes to parts in our industry. And that's something that we want to help everybody become better at, do a better job at protecting that data as well, and be more efficient at sharing and making use of that data. So if we can put useful tools that interact with blockchain in the hands of customers and provide support and provide strong support, I think we can be a winning player in this space.
I like that. I can envision, especially from an airline side, so leasing company to airline, let's maybe use that as a case study.
Yep.
So I just had a gentleman on who used to work for GCAS. So GCAS leases an A320. It's the primary lease, so it's going out factory new from Airbus directly to an airline.
Yep.
The ability to maybe talk about putting a whole aircraft onto the blockchain from the component level.
Yes.
The maintenance history and those things, and just having it live there. And then when the return from lease for GCAS is a push of the button by the operator who's been operating within the system you guys outline, right? It's their rules. So whatever regulatory authority that they've got, you guys will fit all of that into their rule system. And when the aircraft gets returned, it's push of a button and all of that information's there. They can digitally hand the aircraft back to GCAS on the lease return. And now GCAS is ready for, there's probably an interim work scope. Maybe they have to change an interior, get a paint job, swap an engine, landing gear overhaul, something, and then they send to the next customer, and they're managing all of that maintenance through there and then delivering a nice pretty package.
Yeah. So basically keeping track of the configuration after the initial AVL or VSL or whatever that initial configuration of the asset, tracking it from that point back to birth. Absolutely. I mean, that's something that every OEM should be doing. There should be one E8130 with every single part from birth for the entire aircraft, ideally. And I don't think that's something that the FAA has taken a position on and saying we're going to mandate that for people. I think maybe in other markets, like maybe Europe, it's a little bit more gone that way. But
well, I would certainly say managing a lot of aircraft that are secondary market aircraft, one of the things that our team has developed a strength on is the ability to go in and decipher the paperwork. Because some items maybe it's the pie in the sky concept, right? I need 60% of this, 40% of this is just bonus, but 60% of it's a regulatory requirement. So for the reality is, the installer is the one responsible for the serviceability of the component they're installing. So they may have a high requirement for paperwork as one installer on one project, and the same part going on to a different airplane might have a different requirement, either higher or lower. And so I can see where that might be a challenge, but certainly there is the stuff this is the requirement. I'm excited for how do we as a marketplace start tackling this the right way.
Yeah.
And especially in the engine internals and these LLPs, it would be great for the quality manager. His step in his process when he takes the engine off wing is he's got to validate all of these LLPs, and that's a flight log, which should be a digital thing as well, but we won't go there for everything.
Right.
Can't fix all things at once, but a lot of the solutions are there, and he could just simply say, yes, these are correct, or if there's something incorrect, he'd go validate why it's incorrect and correct it. So I do think that it's a powerful tool you guys have, and we've talked a couple of times. I get super excited about it because the potential is just going to be amazing for what it's going to transform if the industry can find an acceptable way to integrate that. And I think you got the foundational pieces, and if you're sitting here next year and you've got, I don't know what your target is it 5 million parts next year?
We're going to go for at least 2 million.
2 million. Well, you're already at 1.5.
Well, we got to onboard Jet Midwest in the next year, in the next few months, let's say.
Yeah, and certainly with the precision requirements, I can see where onboarding might be a crawl, walk, run situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we always look to try and automate it as much as possible, and I think what I've understood from the Jet Midwest systems is that you guys have like pretty well structured data, and I think that is a really key step in how many companies need to be kind of ready to take on any IT project. Is what is the quality of your data? Is it well formed? Has it been taken care of? Or is it full of garbage, and is it really hard to manage and make any sense of? So in some regards, using a blockchain is a way for maybe some companies that don't have all those resources to at least standardize their data set into something that they could then go and say, hey, I got my aircraft on Block Aero. Block Aero has open APIs. I can use my Block Aero data set to plug into my forecasting or my analytics tool or my logistics service. So those are the things that we can do for these companies using Block Aero.
That's amazing. Which I always ask everybody. You've been what their favorite aircraft is. I know you've traveled an awful lot in your career, and you've obviously been in the business. If you could tell us what your favorite aircraft is and what about that aircraft gets you excited.
Well, actually, even this aircraft influenced a little bit the logo of Block Aero, because I thought it was really cool aircraft. I really like the shape of it. I think when you see it, it looks like something from outer space. You might even know which one I'm talking about, right? Could you guess?
I can't picture. I apologize. I can't picture your logo.
The B-2.
Oh yeah,
B-2 bomber. So Northrop Grumman. It's a very cool aircraft that just I don't think there's anything else that really looks like it out there, and I thought it also resembled a little bit in programming the shape of a basically that symbol, that kind of bracket, and so I saw that together and I said, hey, this is my favorite aircraft, and I want to kind of combine that with technology, programming, and make Block Aero.
That's great.
We'll continue this discussion on the next episode of Nose to Tail, a podcast presented by Jet Midwest. Don't forget to please like and subscribe to our channel.